about to try something a little bit different. Shake things up a bit. We're about to go off the beaten path, if you know what I'm saying. What's up, everybody? We alive. Yet another day above soil. So I'm gonna try to do something new on my channel. Usually you would see me cooking, you would see me making artwork, you would see me talking about Stickerism, the shop that my mom and I own. But I figured that today I try a little something different. I do know that this video is something that really does come to the heart because I feel that I'm here to prevent pollution of this place and prevent pollution of the mind. And what I'm about to talk to y'all about may be something that might pollute your mind, and that is getting laid off. So Drew, why are you making a video about being laid off? Well, I'm gonna be honest. It's actually happening a lot more often than you really think. And I just want y'all to be prepared if it happens to you. So some of y'all who are watching this right now, some of y'all probably might have just got laid off. Y'all are still going through the shock of it. Maybe it's something that just happened and you're trying to process in your mind, what did I do? Did this go wrong? Did that go wrong? What could I have done to prevent all of this stuff from happening? I'm here to give you a little bit and piece of insight to what to do when this happens. So I'm going to give y'all a little bit of background of what happened to me. So I'm just going to lift the curtain a little bit and talk about my situation a little bit. So when I first started this YouTube channel, I was in Oswego, New York. While I was in Oswego, New York, I was working for a college called SUNY Oswego. And after working for SUNY Oswego for a while, I made the decision to leave SUNY Oswego to try something new. After all, if you want to see success, sometimes you gotta jump, you gotta do something different. And I did. So I started working for an educational technology company. It was a startup. And I liked some of the things that they were talking about. However, after a couple of months, they noticed that a third of the people who were using this app were no longer going to use the app. And without the people using the app, they wouldn't have enough money to pay for the workers. So because I was one of the last ones hired, I was one of the first ones to go, along with a third of the people who were working there. It was a small startup. So that's what happened with my first layoff. And I was unemployed for about 4 months, and I moved to Maryland because somebody who was a family friend of mine had me working for them. But then eventually I got laid off from that, and then that was another couple of months. So it happened to me twice within a year. So I just wanted to put this video out there because A, it may happen to you, and B, it happens more often than you really think. So before I get into some of the meat and potatoes of what to do when you get laid off, I'm going to talk about some of the reasons why people get laid off. Maybe the company that you're working for is downsizing and there's some redistribution of funds, and then they don't need a certain job, so then they let people go. Similar to how I got laid off my first time, sometimes it is lack of customers. Either customers don't know about a certain product or customers don't have a need for a product. So if customers don't buy into a product, then the company doesn't make money. And if the company doesn't make money, then there's no money to pay for the employees. So that's another way people get laid off. Another reason why people may get laid off is if the position is temporary and it's funded for a short period of time. That's kind of how things happened with my last layoff, like the one that I just went through. There was a small window of funding for that position, and there was no money to fund my salary further, so I was laid off. It wasn't anything in my control. It was something that happened outside of my control. Therefore, it was a layoff. Versus if you were terminated or fired, you probably did something that peeved off somebody, or you did something unethical, and that led to you being fired. Being laid off is different than being fired. And one of the things that you could do when you get laid off is go apply for unemployment. Theoretically, if you get fired from a job, you could get unemployment, but it depends on the circumstances and how you got fired or why you got fired. So those are some of the reasons for why people get laid off. I'm now going to talk to y'all about what to do when it happens. All right, so this is what to do when you get laid off. So usually a layoff happens when you least expect it. When you go into work and you have important meetings or you have a committee meeting, usually these committee meetings are at the very top of the hour or they're halfway through the hour. You know, you go into work at 8 a.m., you get your morning coffee at 8:30, you shoot the breeze with your coworkers, with your supervisor at 9, and then you go into the committee meetings at 10:30. You have a staff meeting at 11, you go to lunch at noon, and then so on and so forth. Most of them happen at the top of the hour, or they happen halfway through the hour. When you get laid off, usually it happens at an off time. It happens at 10:10. It may happen at 12:35 or 12:38. It may happen at 2:59 or 2:58. It's always at a time that is very random most of the time. And it's most of the time when you least expect it. Rarely have I seen someone get laid off and they knew it was coming. There are some situations where you know a layoff is around the corner, and sometimes if you get that gut instinct that something is about to happen, 90% of the time, it is pretty true. So anyway, your supervisor may call you, they may send you a Slack message and say, hey, I need to meet with you, we're gonna have to talk about business. So you go into the supervisor's office or you go on the Zoom chat with your supervisor and your supervisor's like, hey, actually I wanted to talk to you about something that's not so good. So yeah, we're laying you off. At that moment, you may be in shock and totally understandable. Getting laid off is as traumatic as going through a divorce, going through a bad breakup, going through a car accident. If anything, you know what? I'm gonna have to pencil that because that's going off the beaten path again. And if you want advice on what to do if you get in a car accident, I got you. Leave a comment below. So yeah, being laid off is a traumatic event and you're just in shock and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because that's your whole paycheck. You may have a car to pay off. You may have rent to pay off. You're going to wonder how you're going to afford food. You're going to wonder, how am I going to support my child, my family? That is my bread and butter, and now it's gone. Understandable that losing a job not only puts you at a financial setback, but it might even put you in a setback with your identity. Because maybe you've had this job for a good 4, 5, 6 years, and then bam, it's gone. And America is mostly an at-will employer, meaning they could get rid of you whenever they want for whatever reason they want. And you can't do anything worth a hill of beans about it. I mean, you could quite possibly go to court, but the odds of you winning the case may be slim to none. Just putting it out there. So anyway, when you get laid off, or maybe you want to talk to your supervisor after that initial meeting because you're in shock, here's some of the things you're going to need to do. Number one, you're going to need to get everything in writing. Get everything in writing. Number two, record the time and day when you get laid off. You need to write down who laid you off, who's your supervisor, what company laid you off, the reason for why you got laid off. Maybe they're cutting half the staff, a third of the staff, a quarter of the staff. Write down the reason for why you got laid off. Ask if you're going to get severance pay. Ask when your health insurance is going to be cut. Ask for when your dental insurance is going to be cut. Because essentially, a lot of the things that you're getting from your job is not going to be there, and you're trying to get yourself prepared. Because when you file for unemployment, it's probably going to be about a good month and a half before you see money from unemployment coming. So you're going to need to get a good head start and get some of the stuff in writing so that when you apply for unemployment, the information is right there. Another thing that you may want to ask your supervisor is, okay, so now I know that I need the job search. Could you still serve as a positive reference? Just ask the question. Ask it. Because if you don't ask the question, your answer will still be no. And because this is something that is not your fault, at least you have leverage and you have some sort of positive rapport, hopefully, that you've built with your supervisor. So using that experience you have from the job that you have been laid off from, at least using that supervisor as a reference, that is something that you could quite possibly do. So after the initial shock of the meeting, you probably might think about applying for jobs, going on LinkedIn, using the easy apply thing. Honestly, I've done that myself the first time. And I'm here to tell you, the very first thing that you're going to need to do when you get laid off is stop. Just stop. So this is why I'm telling you to just stop. Because when your body and your mind is in shock, you're not going to be able to make the soundest of decisions. Things are a little bit foggy, or things may be snowy in your mind, or maybe your mind is a static kind of thing on the TV, like you see. When your mind is staticky, it's going to be very hard to make an informed decision about what you want to do. And honestly, with a job, I'm talking about something that you do more than you're in your house from 8 a.m. to 5, or maybe it's a 9 to 6, or maybe it's 8 to 10 p.m. It may happen. You just gonna need to stop. Allow yourself to feel the trauma that is being laid off. Allow yourself to feel the shock. Maybe you might want to go on the sofa, watch the Netflix, watch Hulu, go watch some YouTube videos, watch some of my content, watch me cook so that you can stress cook, do something. Just don't apply for jobs immediately. Just don't. Get yourself through the shock of it. If it's 1 week or 10 days, so be it. Don't just straight up apply for something, because you might not like it. You might not like that next job if you apply on impulse. Now, when I tell you to stop, don't be very excessive with it. Don't become so dormant that it's really hard for you to move for a month, 2 months, 3 months. Because that may cause you to go into a very big depression, and it would be very hard to get yourself out of that. Stop, but get yourself out of the funk. Switch things up. Go on a nature walk. Go off the beaten path. Talk to family members you haven't talked to in a while. Talk to friends. Talk to old relatives. Talk to your cousins, your auntie, your uncle. Talk to old teachers. This is time to connect with people. And maybe this could be a time for those communication networks to find something new for you. Reach out. Don't isolate yourself. I know that during the you know what, when people were getting sick, people were already self-isolating. And quite honestly, in 2023, people still are pretty isolated. Don't self-isolate yourself. This is a good time to branch out because now you have the time, now that you're not working for that job anymore. Branch out. So what I mean branched out, I would even go as far as keeping tabs on communication with other people within the company who have been laid off. Maybe you've clicked well with somebody you've been hired with. Or maybe you clicked well with somebody who's been around for about 6, 7, 8 months before you got on board. Keep in contact with the coworkers you were working with because that's a connection too. They might get you through a door and your foot might be in the door and then you walk through it. You know, sometimes when you connect with somebody else who had been laid off from the same company, you could commiserate with that person. You could feel empathy from that person because they can directly relate to what you went through. And also, it's also sometimes the best of friendships happen in the most unfortunate events. When you're both suffering from something, this is an event that you could both relate to, and because of that, you build some sort of bond with that person. It happened. I'm still communicating with some of the people I've been laid off with the first time. So now things are going to get a little bit administrative. Don't be ashamed to do this. You're going to need to apply for unemployment. Because this is something that happened outside of your control, you've paid taxes. You have worked for a long time. You earned that unemployment paycheck. You did. And there's other people within the United States of America who have paid for unemployment taxes. This is your time to get the advantage. And don't pay attention to people who say, oh, you're just going to take advantage of unemployment and slide. No. You have worked for this unemployment paycheck. Go and get it because this is your lifeline and it could save you a lot of unnecessary effort. Now, when you're applying for unemployment, you're gonna need to be patient. There's some states that may work slower than others. Like when I was unemployed in New York, it took me well over a month to get my first unemployment paycheck. And I'm pretty sure it's the same for Maryland. I don't know about any of the other states like Montana or Wyoming or Hawaii or Oregon or Florida. I don't know about those other states, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to take a while for your unemployment paycheck to come in. And honestly, don't expect your first unemployment paycheck to be a whopper. You're probably going to look at around $400 to $500 if you're lucky. You know how I was talking to y'all about how you need to get things in writing? This is why you need to get things in writing. Because when you file for unemployment, they're going to ask you for tax information. They're going to ask you for reasons for why you were terminated. They may even ask for the termination letter. When I was laid off the first time, New York needed the letter saying that I was terminated. So let's say that you don't want to go through the rigmarole of going for unemployment and you still want to be productive. Well, you know what? That's fine too. Here's something that I have done after the second time I've been laid off. Become a substitute teacher. This might not be your cup of tea, if you know what I'm saying, but hear me out. Becoming a substitute teacher was very rewarding. I met a lot of cool people along the way, and for me, it was relatively easy to become a substitute teacher. So I'm going to put a link Down in the description for Kelly Education or Kelly Services, they're a temp agency, and different counties may work with different people, but I know for Baltimore County, you work with Kelly Education. So I might make a different video about being a substitute teacher later on. But if you don't want to get unemployment and you want to keep yourself occupied and it's still during the school year, honestly, substitute teaching ain't a bad gig. I highly recommend it. And not only that, but it's also a good thing for your resume too. If anything, I feel that me becoming a substitute teacher has put my foot into the door for where I'm about to go. Another thing that you're going to need to think about is health insurance. I know there's some people who are more healthy than others, or some people may need health insurance more than others. So this is a time where you really do need to think about health insurance. In particular, there is something called COBRA. I ain't talking about the snake that gets hypnotized when you play a clarinet or when you play something and it comes out of the vase. No, that's not the COBRA I'm talking about. I'm talking about the COBRA that somebody could get after they leave a job. And honestly, when I was thinking about COBRA, I was like, I can't afford this. I can't do this. And plus, the first time that I got laid off, at least I had health insurance from my previous employer. I got lucky. Some of y'all probably might not get as lucky, so you may want to think about it and quickly, because the window to get COBRA is about 30 to 45 days. I may put a link about what COBRA is down in the description. You may need to do a little bit of research, but you may need COBRA because some of the things that happen to you, some of the more unfortunate events that happen in your life happen when you're already in a pretty bad situation. So you might need COBRA. So another thing that you're going to need to do when you get unemployed is think about your why. Think about your motivation. Now that you are not working full time, this is the perfect time to do some soul searching and think about some of the changes that need to happen. So maybe you got laid off from a place that you didn't really like. Now is the time to think about things that you do like. Maybe this is the time where you can explore making your own company. After all, this is how stickerism came to be, because this was the time in where I could explore my passion with my mom and to connect with the community. So through me being laid off, this opportunity granted me the time to really soul search and think about the reasons for why I'm here, think about what I want to do for the community. So really do take that time to think about some of the things that you might want to change. And that is something that might spring some inspiration for what you want to do as far as a career. There's nothing like working for a job that doesn't even feel like a job in the first place. There's nothing like that feeling. My general rule of thumb when you're unemployed is to apply for at least 8 to 10 positions per week. Honestly, I've known people who applied for 15 to 20 positions in a day. And my thing is, yeah, that's cool and all, but if you're applying for 10 to 15 positions a day, are you looking at some of the fine print? Are you looking at some of the things that are within that job description? Because what if you apply for something and you end up not liking it because you didn't know that you needed to cold call some people? You didn't know that you had to go door to door. You didn't know that the company that you apply for is an MLM. For more information about what an MLM is, go to some of my previous videos. I'm going to put those down in the description as well. So anyway, my personal rule of thumb is, number one, apply for things that you actually want and apply for at least 8 to 10 jobs a week just to keep things going. And also, be honest. When you get that interview, they're going to ask for why, or they may not ask for the reason for why you're only at a position for 6 months or 8 months or even 2 months. If they do ask, you're going to need to be honest about why you were only there. And the thing is, people get laid off all the time. And for those who are not understanding, I'm talking to the employers. For those who are not understanding of the position of people getting laid off, you may want to re-examine why that position is open anyway. I'm just saying. Anyway, be honest about why there's a gap and don't lie on your resume. You may be tempted to extend the amount of time you work for someplace or over glitterify something, but honestly, they're going to find out eventually. Don't lie. Just don't do it, because when you lie and you actually get to the final round, they're doing the background check and things come up, you start the job and they find out that you lied about the time, like you were working for an employer for only 2 months, but you actually turned it into 2 years. You're going to be screwed. So just don't lie about it. Just don't. If you get burned out or if you get overwhelmed while you're job searching, stop again. Just stop. Because if you have run into a rut and you don't, oh, God, ow, mosquito. I'm sorry. If you're stuck in a rut and you don't know what you're doing, maybe you're updating your resume 5, 6, 7 times. Just stop, rethink, reorganize, get yourself together. It's not just you. Maybe it's just the time. Eventually, you're going to get a job. And when you get a job, congratulations! Woo! 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 That's a time for celebration. You may go to the bar, hit up somebody's nightclub, go out with your friends, go bowling, go to a farmer's market. Congratulations, you got a job. You went through some of the most trying times of your life. If you have been unemployed and you just got a job and you're watching this right now, I want to personally congratulate you and anybody else going through the same position, because I've also been through it and I could empathize. So before we go on to things to consider while you're unemployed, I'm going to take a time out and we're going to have a segment about one of our local artisans. When was the last time you did your laundry? Was your laundry sitting in the basket for over a week and it smelled like the change of life? And you need to rebuke the devil from the funk? Well, look no further. You got Lo-Fi Laundry. So not only does Lo-Fi Laundry smell good, this is all natural. This only got 4 ingredients. And I so wanna go! It comes with a scoop. If you have a medium load, you only need 2 heaping scoops of this, and it will make you fly. You wash your clothes in this stuff, it will make you fly. You want to smell like royalty? You get Sultan Musk. Just the name alone intrigued me. And then the description said a little hint of sandalwood. You see, they got me there. I did a load of laundry with this Lo-Fi Laundry, and I'm not gonna look back. So if you want to rebuke the funk out of your laundry, you gotta get some of this stuff. Shout out to Awo, good friend of mine, one of our artisans in stickerism. Good product, good products. She also makes some jewelry on the side. I swear, y'all need to get some of this stuff. I'm gonna put the link of her Instagram within the description of this video. Give your clothes new life with Lo-Fi Laundry, Salt and Musk. It'll change your life. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. While you are employed, I implore you, maybe it's $100 per paycheck, maybe it's $200 per paycheck. Since there is so much of a norm of getting laid off and you don't know when or if you're going to get laid off, you're going to need to have some sort of security blanket or security pillow for when it does happen. I know of some people who get laid off and they don't have a savings, so they're screwed. I don't want that to happen to you. So while you are working, please save your money so that when you get your unemployment check or when you're waiting for that unemployment check, at least you have something there. And even when you're collecting unemployment, it's not going to be a lot of money because believe me, $800 bi-weekly, that's not going to put bread on the table in 2023. It's just not. I'm sorry. So let me tell you how common it is for people to get laid off. So about 40% of Americans get laid off at least once in their life. That's almost half of the population. 40% of people getting laid off in America? That's a lot of people. In addition to 40% of Americans being laid off, 28% of Americans have been laid off within at least the last 2 years. So this is something that happens often. I'm not going to punch tech companies in the stomach, but I'm just giving y'all a word of caution. You may want to consider working for something that's different than tech companies because tech companies have a tendency of laying people off very early. So you may want to reconsider something different. There's been a lot of tech layoffs, and I keep seeing it on LinkedIn at least 4 to 5 times a day. I'm seeing I got laid off from this company, I got laid off from that company. If working for a tech company is your thing, that's fine. I'm just giving y'all a word of caution that if you're working for a tech company, you may run more of a risk for being laid off. With being laid off, if I were to tell you to not worry, I wouldn't be doing y'all a service. I wouldn't be. Because once again, being laid off is very traumatic. If I were to tell somebody who got divorced or who had somebody within their family pass away, if I tell them to not worry about that, that's just no. What I will say is because you've been laid off and you're going through a situation that is very trying, your feelings are very valid. They're very real. And I implore you to go through the grieving process and talk to people who really care about you. Or even if it's talking to me. If you are a complete stranger and I've never seen you and you're going through this situation, by all means, hit me up. I'd be more than willing to reach out to you and talk to you because I know how it feels and it sucks. It's so bad. Your feelings are valid. I would say don't dwell in it for too long because that's going to paralyze you to the point where you're not going to be productive during the interviews to get yourself out of unemployment. And if you're still holding on to the baggage of your layoff and you go to that new job with that baggage, your chances of being productive would go down. So yes, your feelings of being unemployed are valid, but at the same time, don't dwell on it for a long time. This is something that you could learn from, or you could even teach other people about. Don't be afraid to lean on your friends and family. So you're gonna run into a few different types of people when you get laid off. So when I was laid off, I ran into some people who got kind of weird with me. They were standoffish with me. They didn't really want to talk to me. But I understand because they're probably scared that it may happen to them and they don't know what to say. And you got to be all right with it, because some people they feel bad that you've gotten laid off, but they don't know what to do. I mean, don't let that kind of person phase you out of being productive. It's something that happens, and sometimes it's a family member that may be a little bit standoffish. Now, fortunately, you're probably going to run into somebody who's going to be like, okay, it's unfortunate that you got laid off, but I want to help you out. I want to get you through what you're going through right now because you're my friend, you're my family member, I love you dearly, and I don't want to see you suffer for a long time. My friends, if you run into somebody like that, you're going to need to keep them around for a long time, because it is very, very rare that you're going to find somebody as genuine as that. Keep them around. Do know that you are not alone. You are not the only person who had been laid off. I've been laid off. A few of my family members have been laid off. A few of the people who I worked with got laid off. It is something that happens. This is something that happens more frequently today. You are not the only person. So if you're in a funk about that, just consider it. Just consider it. Another thing to consider is that this situation right now, it's not permanent. I'm not going to say that you're going to get a job in 2 months. You're going to get a job in 4 months. You're going to get a job in 8 months. Some people get laid off and it may take them a year or two to get a job. But during that time, think about your why. This situation is not permanent. It's going to take a while to get yourself out of the situation, but do know that it's not forever, and one day you're going to find another place to work, or you might even form your own business like I did with my mom. So those are my insights for when you get laid off, or if you, your friend, or loved one gets laid off. Please put a comment below if you are jiving with some of the things that I'm saying. Give me a thumbs up, because honestly, I like going off the beaten path. And if you find yourself off the beaten path and you want to get back on it, and you want me to give you suggestions of things to talk about off the beaten path, write down in the comments below what you want, and I'll be sure to make a video of it. Not sure what to ask? I'll give you a starting basis. So go ahead, look at some of the videos that I've done. It could be about cooking. It could be about sustainability. It could be about race. It could be about LGBTQ situations. It could be about navigating colleges. It could be everyday skills. I love talking about everyday skills. So if you find yourself off the beaten path about that and you want to get back on the beaten path, let me know. I would be more than happy to talk to y'all about those situations. So before we part ways and leave, I have a relatively important question to ask of you. If you went to sleep tonight and you ain't wake up the next day, would you truly be satisfied with the life that you lived? If your answer is no, it's most definitely time to do some soul searching and think about some of the changes that you need to make with your life. I say this because there's a lot of things within our society that discriminate. Death, however, does not discriminate. I want to thank y'all for watching this content. If this is your first, second, third, or whatever time, hit the subscribe button. It's right down below. I'll put the links to my Instagram, Stickerism's Instagram, Nowhere Collective's Instagram, Nowhere Collective Shop, and a lot of other good things down in the description. We're still on the road to 500 subscribers. If you want to be a member of the LDX family and you want to spread the love, all you got to do is hit that button right at the bottom of this video. I would love to have you be a part of this family. I leave you all with much love, good spirits, and vibes. Until next time, I'll see y'all later. I'm out.